The Toronto Rock try to avoid the season series sweep and keep pace in the East as they host the defending NLL champion Rochester Knighthawks tonight at the Air Canada Centre. On a St. Patrick's Day weekend, who will have the luck of the Irish? Knighthawks versus Rock. The NLL action starts right now. Welcome to the Air Canada Centre in Toronto. The Rochester Knighthawks in town to take on the Toronto Rock. I'm Andy McNamara, alongside former Toronto Rock player, coach, and Team Canada national coach, Mr. Glenn Clark. Glenn, glad to have you in the booth.
Thanks. Nice being here, Eddie.
Let's get right to it. Big game tonight in the East Division. The Toronto Rock. First two games against the Knighthawks, they got thumped. In Rochester and in this very building. Toronto coming off of a bye week. Prior to that, they got swept out in Alberta. A tough road trip there. However, there is some good news. Garrett Billings, February Player of the Month. The scoring is there. Stephen LeBlanc as well. To you, on that Western road trip, what was the main problem for Toronto?
It's a tough road trip, and I mean they had a good showing in Edmonton, and right. It was a close game and a game that could go either way. You go back-to-back in Calgary, and, it seems all year they've allowed teams to go on runs. They allowed Calgary to get on a run early, and in this league, you let teams gain momentum like that, it's hard to claw your way back. Absolutely.
And I mentioned Garrett Billings, leads the league in points. Stephen LeBlanc has already topped his goal scored from a season ago, had 22, now at 29. I really like the way LeBlanc's been playing this year. I mentioned it throughout the home games this season, Glenn, in that he seems more physical, he seems more engaged, and he's using that big body to box out and really make plays. So he's stepped up his game. The back end, though, that's where I think the trouble starts to lie. If you had to pick, does it begin with Nick Rose or the defense on why the Rock are giving up so many goals?
It's a shared responsibility, and it always is defensively, and between the two groups. I mean, to point a finger at the goaltending versus the defense, it's a shared responsibility,
right.
and defense is about communication, and you make your job a lot easier with communication. And between the players on defense, that's where the growth has to come. Is the communication, the understanding of roles and responsibilities.
Sure. Looking at the Rochester Knighthawks, phenomenal. As far as the team as a whole, but especially from the net out. And it begins with Matt Vince. Playing out of his mind, former NLL goalie of the year. He's going to be battling for that title again this season. Second in goals against average, third in save percentage. Talk about how important, as a former player, it is to have that comfort level knowing, hey, Big Matty's got us covered back there.
He reminds me a lot of Bob Watson when I played with Bobby, and he's a phenomenal goalie, but Bobby was such a good, timely goalie.
Right.
And, bigger games, towards the end of a game, he just has that ability, that it factor to shut the door.
Sure.
And that's what the championship caliber goalies do. And I see that a lot in Matt Vink. He's just got that competitive edge. Along with a solid skill set, and he shuts the door and he makes timely saves, and he gives his team a chance to win every night.
And a big part of why they are back-to-back defending NLL champions. What I like about Rochester, Glenn, is the fact that they have experience and grit combined with a lot of youth that isn't up and coming but are immediate contributors. You have Cody Jamieson, who's going to be wearing the C tonight with Sid Smith as a scratch.
Yeah.
You have Johnny Powless, Joe Walters, and you can run down the lineup. As far as offensively, who stands out to you for the Rochester Knighthawks?
There's quite a few. I'm a big Dan Dawson fan.
Right.
Just composure, the way he controls the game, and he's such a leader on and off the floor. I mean, you hear that a lot about players, but Dan has such a composure, such an inclusive nature in a dressing room. He brings everyone along, and he's just such a positive influence with bridging the young players and the veteran players, and his leadership, along with a world-class skill set. To me, he's the guy that makes that offense go.
And Dan Dawson, one of the best setup men in the game. And I like that you mentioned unselfish, because he has the skill set to score a whole lot more goals. 51 points on the year, 41 of those helpers. Would you like to see Dan Dawson take more shots and try to get more scoring opportunities, or hey, don't fix it if it ain't broke?
Yeah, I wouldn't pretend to tell Dan what to do. I mean, I think he's got a good balance of, if I need to take it to the net, he's such a big athletic body, and he's virtually impossible to stop one-on-one.
Yeah.
He's so big, he's physical, he's fast, he's got such a good stick. But I think he's found a real good position in that offense where he understands that he needs the other players as much as they need him, and I think he's found a nice little niche of putting it on his shoulders when he needs to, but also on the course of a season distributing the ball and getting everyone involved.
X factors for tonight. Let's begin with the Toronto Rock. What are the one or two things they must do to be victorious and avoid being swept in the season series?
I think they have an unbelievable power play, and I think they need to capitalize on that. I mean, traditionally this league is a 1 or 2 goal game, and if you capitalize on specialty teams, I think Toronto has one of the best power plays in the league. I think they've got to be aware of taking care of transition, not letting Rochester get on a roll, transition in between those zones, and if they can do those two things, they're going to put themselves in a position to be successful.
Looking at the other side, the Rochester Knighthawks, we know the back end's solid, but what in particular, if you had to mark it down to 1 or 2 points again for the Knighthawks, what do they have to do to make sure the Rock fans go home disappointed tonight?
I think they're so good at all the aspects, and it's not a cop-out answer, but I think they have to be what they are. Mm-hmm. They're so solid on D, they're so solid in transition, they're so solid in offense, and it comes down to the discipline, the composure, and playing the game that has made them successful. Because as simplistic as it sounds, they stick to their game plan, they keep their composure, they roll in all 3 phases of their game, and they're tough to beat.
Absolutely. We just heard over the loudspeaker, this is Colin Doyle's 200th game as a Toronto Rock member. The last time we were here, he had his 500th goal, I think it was, and he's up to 1,300 plus points. He seems timeless, and you have the big numbers of a Garrett Billings, of a Stephen LeBlanc, and you almost forget about Colin Doyle, but he's a staple.
Yeah, and we talked about Dan Dawson and what Dan does for the Rochester offense, and you've got Colin doing that as well, where he understands what he needs to do to make the group successful offensively. He could put a lot more on his shoulders and go to the net a lot harder, but he's drawing the double, he's dumping, he's making good passes, good decisions. So he's found that groove that helps make that offensive group collectively a lot better.
Glenn, I want to get your thoughts on the transition game from both of these teams. I've really liked how the Toronto Rock have added to the transition game over the past couple seasons. Gotten younger, gotten faster. And you know what? We're actually going to go to the national anthem now. We'll get your thoughts on that later. Let's send it down to the field.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true North strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Here we go, Toronto Rock, Rochester Knighthawks. Welcome to the Air Canada Centre in Toronto. Andy McNamara with you alongside Glenn Clark, former Toronto Rock championship player and coach. Also coached the Team Canada national indoor team. It is a St. Patrick's Day weekend in the Big Smoke. That's why you hear the bagpipes, the Toronto Rock, with their special St. Patty's Day uniforms on. You looking quite sharp there, but Glenn, with the festivities now aside, the bagpipers doing a nice job. The Rock really need this game. They currently sit third in the East Division, 4-6. Top three teams make it. Philadelphia nipping at their heels. The Knighthawks 7-3, and they have to avoid the season sweep tonight. Does Toronto?
Yeah, and they don't want to let Philly and Minnesota, who's right behind them. They don't want to let them back into the mix. So it's an opportunity to create a bit of separation, and they certainly don't want to let those other teams get closer than they want them.
No, absolutely not. And the starting goaltenders for tonight. In goal for the Rochester Knighthawks, Matt Vince. For the Toronto Rock, Nick Rose. We didn't mention it off the top, but a goaltending acquisition and release for the Rock. Steve Fryer in, Nick Boychuk out as backup. Do you like the move?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's still going to rest on Nick Rose.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to go as far as he carries them. The team obviously is closer to it with Boychuk, and maybe they thought that going forward he wasn't going to be who they had in mind as a backup. So I still think it's going to be it's going to rely on Nick Rose.
Chatted about it before the national anthem. Real quick, the transition game for Toronto. Jesse Gamble, Ethan O'Connor, some young guns, and Joel McCready back in the lineup for Rochester. Also on the transition, did not play the last time these two teams met because of a suspension. What do you make comparing the two transition sides and how important that is to the game?
They both got some good weapons. Jesse Gamble's turned out an outstanding transition player. So active, so athletic. And with McCready, he reminds me a little bit of Sandy Chapman. He's just such a workhorse, maybe with a little bit better finish in the offensive end, but just the ability to push pace and get to the dirty spots. He's got a great game inside and in transition. Absolutely.
Action underway. Toronto Rock in their special St. Patrick's Day white and green uniforms. Rochester Knighthawks in teal, purple, and white. The two-time defending NLL champions go right at it. Shot wide. Ball in front of the Toronto Rock bench. Put up to Jameson, wearing the seat tonight. Captain Sid Smith, a scratch, as is Mike Acursi for the Knighthawks. For Toronto, Kyle Belton and Mike Lum Walker not suiting up. In-house penalty figures for each team. For Rochester, Corey Vitarelli. Toronto, Bill Hostrauser. Rock captain Colin Doyle. Ball in the corner, being hacked by Scott Self. Ball still loose. It looks like Rochester, well, maybe they won't come up with it. Hey, and Stephen LeBlanc recovers it for Toronto. Big shot, Garrett Billings. Moved before he had the ball in his stick, and Rochester will recover. There's Lord. He heads to the bench. And Walters, one of those young guns we talked about. Johnny Pallas on the floor, too. Pallas sets up in the low post. Walters, Rochester circling the ball well around the perimeter. 10 left on the shot clock. Trying to back his way through. There's Dawson. It looks like an illegal pick. Toronto ball. Sandy Chapman. And Glenn, you mentioned Sandy Chapman. Still, as a veteran, he's one of the quickest on the team.
He's just so aggressive. He does all the little things well, and he creates space for other players, and he just...
Oh, and there's Rob Hellier. We talked about the young guns. That's another one. Rob Hellier puts Toronto on the board, 1-0.
Good east-west ball movement. You get the goalie moving, loses net a little bit. Josh Sanderson feeds it across. Nice shot, short side.
And a good look at those Toronto uniforms.
But getting back to Sandy Chapman, just does all the little dirty things. He creates space on offense, good defense, transition.
And you have another look at the goal there. And just a little head juke and side stutter step there, Glenn, to bury it.
Anytime you get the goalie moving east-west with ball movement, it's a lot more difficult for him to find his net and get set.
Rochester with possession, Cody Jamieson. Last time these two teams met, Rochester ended up winning here and really dominating late. It was a slow start offensively, but Matt Vince did enough to keep them hanging around, and that's what you have to be careful about with this Knighthawks club. If you don't get up early, they'll bury you. Yeah,
and Toronto let them get on quite a run that last game, and that's sort of been the story for Toronto a lot this year.
Yeah, 17-9 the last time these two clubs faced off back on February 15th. Here at the ACC, this is the third and final meeting of the regular season. Toronto holding down the third and final playoff spot in the East. The Knighthawks in second. Just a half game back of first place Buffalo. What a turnaround they've had this season, the Buffalo Bandits.
You got Casey Burns isolated on defense. They're trying to pick on him.
Rose saw a lot. Nice outlet pass. There's Chris White. Missed the first chunk of the season with an injury. A lot of the Toronto veterans, Bill Greer, Pat Merrill, Chris White out. Now getting back into the rotation and finding their legs should be a real benefit for Toronto.
Yeah, speaking with Dan Lattiser, he was talking about, it's going to be nice to have those veteran presences in there, and the communication we talked about early on. It helps the D when you've got guys that understand the different slides and how to get off picks and all the stuff that you learn as you go along in this game.
Ball heads out into the far corner. Toronto possession over the top, scores! Vince went down, the captain went high, and the Toronto Rock lead it 2-0.
Good start, nice little pick by Josh Sanderson, creating a bit of space, and Collins frees up his stick and gets a nice shot over Vic's shoulder.
19th goal of the season for Captain Colin Doyle, 43rd point. What a nice season Colin Doyle is having. Was injured for large parts of last season. Shoulder, troubled him quite a bit. Has been able to keep healthy for the most part. Neutral zone battle. Collision. Oh! And Johnson's helmet flew off. He's going to head to the bench. There's Scott Self in the neutral zone, waiting for the transition and the Knighthawks offense to get back on the floor. Big Dan Dawson on the left wing. Keep an eye on him. Jesse Gamble trying to cover the big man. Dawson with a sidearm screen. Count it! And Dan Dawson, we talked about him not shooting enough in the opening. He had a rocket sidearm to put it by Nick Rose. Have a look.
He's just so dangerous when you get him in a one-on-one position because you got to respect his over-the-top move. He'll swim you, so you have to respect that speed and that strength. And he just gets the defender to step off. Nice bounce shot, top corner.
Dan Dawson, third in the NLL with assists at 41. That's his 11th goal. Very unselfish player, but he certainly has the skill set when he finds the right opportunity to pop it in, and he does right there. This is a young, aggressive, and fast Rochester Knighthawks team built for sustained success. Trying to find a lane, being forced out. Dishes to Jamieson on the right wing. Jamieson finds a lane. An illegal pick being tossed down was Damon Edwards. Otherwise, Jamieson had a clear path to Nick Rose. Damon Edwards, another speedster, pulls up. Gets hit from behind and he'll head off. Rob Hellier earning a lot more playing time this season. Blaine Manning retiring, so they need someone to fill the void, and Hellier's doing his best to do just that. Hellier threw a screen off the leg of the defender. Oh, Hellier hammered. Taken down by Kirk. Mike Kirk, the assistant captain. Big physical body, and some conversations in the back end in front of Matt Vince. Maybe Glenn taking exception to the manhandling of their teammate.
Physical tone being set early. Nobody wants to give an inch.
10:24 to go in the first quarter. 2-1 Toronto. Shots even at 2. 23 seconds on the shot clock for the Rochester Knighthawks. Over the top. Rose stands tall. Lost track of the ball. It got by him. Scampered loose. Setting up in the low post. Thread the needle. Tried behind the back shot. Did Johnny Powell. Somehow the ball found him. Ethan O'Connor draped over him. It's Toronto ball there. 5 minutes have expired in this opening quarter. Here's Garrett Billings, league leader in points with 70. Coming into tonight, next highest is Sean Evans! And it's 3-1 Toronto! A quick 2-goal lead in the first quarter. And that's going to go to Stephen LeBlanc.
Steph got underneath his defender there. You can never let a guy beat you underneath. You don't have any slide help, and he did a good job getting under that bottom shoulder and getting across the crease on Vink. You always want to try and push the guy up towards your help when you're down in that low crease position.
LeBlanc had 22 goals all of last season, 29 coming into tonight. That is number 30 of the year, and with that, that is going to be our first media timeout. We'll take the break. 3-1, Toronto leading Rochester. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network.
Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com.
Get some new team gear for the season by visiting the NLL shop online. Go to shop.nll.com for the best prices and selection on clothing and accessories for all 9 teams. With flat rate shipping and no hassle returns, the NLL shop is the place for all things NLL. Visit shop.nll.com today, powered by Fanatics. Welcome back to the Air Canada Centre in Toronto. 9:47 to go in the first quarter. Andy McNamara alongside Glenn Clark, former Toronto Rock player and coach. Glenn, what have you thought of the pace so far for tonight's game? It's been really a sprint so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, and they're setting a physical tone early.
Yeah.
Toronto's, especially on offense, Toronto's offensive players are setting some hard picks, getting in on the D, and trying to create some chaos. So it's been physical and it's been fast. And so far, Toronto's established, certainly got the start they wanted.
Well, the Rochester Knighthawks, last time they were in this building, had a slow start and were able to hold tight based on goaltending and defense and turned it on in the second half, eventually winning 17-9. The Rock, really no lead is safe. They need to pile on as much as possible. Jameson putting his shoulder down, trying to find a look. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Whoa! Draping, that's a penalty. Going to be called on Toronto's Pat Merrill. He just draped him.
Yeah, there was no doubt about that one.
Yeah, sometimes you look at a penalty, you're like, yep.
No gray area there.
Let's have a look. Take us through it, Glenn.
Just what I talked about on LeBlanc's goal. You can't let a guy beat you underneath because you have no help, no slide help, and Patty got on the wrong side of his shoulder and had to haul him down.
That was on Joel McCready. Johnny Powless, number 93, the youngster. They have Vitarelli, Powless, and Jameson on the right side, now moving around. Changing positions, Jameson at the top of the slot. Pushing it down to the left. Powless, wow! Point blank range, no defender. Had all day wound up, and that was a laser. 3-2 Toronto.
Rochester was running what we call a rotation. They sent their strong side down the middle, and then sought to double seal there for him to come through.
Powless all alone, fast moving, but if you're Toronto, Glenn, you cannot leave a player like Johnny Powless alone like that.
Yeah, well executed.
So 3-2 the score. Shots 5-4 in favor of the visitors. 9 minutes even to go in the opening quarter on this St. Patrick's Day edition of the Toronto Rock. Everybody's in green, special Rock jerseys. The bagpipers were out early. Now it's game time. Festivities are all over. Rochester on the power play scored there, pulled it within one. Walters tried for the one-touch. Rose slides and makes the stop on Johnny Powless. Nice give and go, and a better stop by Rose.
Rochester's really trying to establish a two-man game, get the ball moving, get a lot of pick and roll going on the two-man side, and look for the slide to dump across.
Stefan LeBlanc jogging in with the one dish. Comes across to Billings, went for the one-touch, intercepted though. That's going to be a crease violation in Toronto ball. Pass intended for Casey Beards. Sidearm flip. And Rob Hellier picks it up. Watch out for Casey Beards, always so sneaky. Went for the sidearm toss, found Doyle on the other side. There's Hellier over the top. A bouncer was redirected partway through by Mac Allen. Didn't reach its intended target. 12 left on the shot clock for Toronto. Garrett Billings has been smothered so far all game. Went blindside, spinning, turning, contorting, counted. Toronto's fourth, and it came from number 13.
Such an amazing shooter. Ability to make something out of nothing. It didn't look like that dangerous of a play. Rochester made the switch and had contact on him, and Billings was just able to find a little seam and put it right along the bar.
21st goal of the season. And as far as points go, he's still number one. 71st point.
And Rochester didn't do a bad job on defense. They got the switch, they got out on it, but he's just such a dynamic shooter.
And that's a good point. I didn't see too much Rochester did wrong on that goal. It's just Garrett Billings was that good. Ball knocked free from Cody Jamieson. Bill Hostrauser coming over in a trade from Vancouver for a future draft pick. After they played Vancouver earlier in the season. Whoa! That was from about 3 feet in from the line. And I think Nick Rose would like to have that one back. Have a look. I guess a parked screen, but really that should be stopped, shouldn't it?
Should be. Bit of a broken play. Rochester will be happy with that one. Looked like Toronto had shut him down and just flipped it out for a high shot.
And that goes to Joel McCready, who again did not play the last time these two clubs met. His 11th of the year. Loose ball scramble in the neutral zone on the near boards. Bill Greer comes back with it. He battled injuries of the early part of this season. So did Pat Merrill and Chris White. All three men in the lineup today. 7 minutes remain in the first. Sanderson put the pass behind the captain Colin Doyle. Still loose. Sanderson gobbles it up. Well, tries for a moment. Billings finds it. Tiptoeing along that line. Here's Rob Hellier. Hellier trying to back his way in. Hellier! Oh, wow! Picture perfect sniping bouncer. Rob Hellier with his second of the game. Good for Toronto. And Glenn, number 10, is really coming into his own.
Similar look to Rochester's last goal. Looked like it was well defended. Didn't look like a dangerous play, but what a shot. Bounce shot to the far post.
Rob Hellier has been dynamite this season, filling that void of Blaine Manning retiring, his 33rd point of the year. Take us through this one, Glenn.
Just a great shot. Like, you've got Self there. He's in good position. He's taking away the high side, so he's on stick side, and he just makes what we call the 50-goal shot, the bouncer up top.
And Hellier, only 5'8". Not a ferocious shot, but an accurate one. And he's been improving on that since last year, where his passing and shooting were off the mark somewhat. Really working on that over the summer. Colin Doyle being pushed back, waits, tried for a screen, didn't find the target. Toronto with a 2-goal lead. Fresh 30 this time for Rochester.
Toronto's really trying to work that ball east-west and get the ball cross crease, get Vink working. Doing a good job of it.
Scott Campbell got rid of it. Joe Walters on the right wing. Walters couldn't find a lane, got rid of it. Vittorelli puts it to the far side.
And you can see the two-man game setting up with Rochester again. They're trying to get that two-man game, hope for a slide, move the ball.
Stephen Keogh, we talk about some of the young guns. He's one of the better ones. Dan Dawson alone as the shot clock expires. And you just see Dan Dawson, sometimes even two men isn't enough if Dawson wants it bad enough.
He's got a big frame, he's got long arms, he's hard to contain when he gets going one-on-one. Very athletic as well.
Rearing back was Stephen LeBlanc. His shot missed. Maybe an ill-advised attempt by the veteran. Had his offense developing and decided to take it on his own. Jamieson, one touch, one for Self. There would have been a crease violation anyway. That was Brad Self. Taken in stride, Hillier. One-on-one, 1-5, and then shuts the door. Showing why he's one of the best in the league. Second in goals against, third in save percentage. Oh, and we have a bit of a tussle here. Jesse Gamble and Scott Self. Don't usually see Gamble fighting too much. Both still have their helmets on. Going to do more damage to your hand if you don't get those off. Gamble's helmet's off. Let's see if Self gets jerseyed. And Gamble. Jesse Gamble against the much taller Scott Self. Got a jab into the chops. Scott Self had the jersey in his hand and almost looked like Self was laughing a little bit there. Jesse Gamble. I love this kid. 5'9", backs down from nobody. Goes to the box.
Started with that aggression on Toronto's offense. They're really getting into the defenders. They're pushing. It's been physical from the offensive standpoint.
So Gamble, we see that tenacity and really earned his way onto this team over the last couple of years and got that playing time increase. Now is a key cog on transition.
He's such a dynamic player in all facets of the game. I mean, transition-wise, loose ball, he's sort of a younger version of Sandy Chapman, natural progression from one to the other. Not that Sandy's done by any stretch, but to have two of those types of players, any team would love to have that.
Absolutely, and Scott Self certainly no pushover by any means. And it looks like we're going to have a penalty. No. Saw the official's hand go up there. There's Rob Marshall. Backs off. Toronto ball. 4:55 to go in the first quarter. Shot 7-6 for the visitors. 5-3 for the home team. Toronto Rock going in their St. Patrick's Day themed white and green jerseys from right to left on your screen. There's Garrett Billings. Billings kicks it back from beyond the line. Waits, loses it. Lost it to Sanderson. Now it's a foot race here. Galloping down the floor. Up top and Rose. Stands tall. John Sullivan denied. Come on. Rock coming back the other way. Rock's offense getting into position in movement. Put to the weak side. Captain Colin Doyle backing his way through. Over the top, scores! Colin Doyle sidestep Brad Self. Off to stick over his shoulder and hurled it. Vince didn't have a chance. 6-3 Toronto.
You get Doyle and LeBlanc in that two-man game. That's two physical bodies that are hard to contain. They get off those picks and they create lanes, and that's exactly what happened there.
20th goal of the year for the captain. He surpassed 1,300 career points earlier this season. I interviewed him on TSN 1050 radio a few weeks back when he got his 500th career goal. And he said he doesn't keep track of these stats. He said he has to be informed when he passes a milestone. And he's had a whole bunch of them this year.
Yeah, good stats. Championships, MVPs. He's there's not much more to say about what he's done in the game of lacrosse.
No. And looking back at the end of the day, he'll have quite the body of work to look at. We're going to step aside. Score 6-3. Toronto leads Rochester. This is the...
Evans flip pass. Here's a shot. Dixon to the net. Scores! Curtis Dixon again! It's 11-10 Calgary.
Want more great NLL action? Subscribe to the Lacrosse Network on your computer, tablet, or mobile device for access to all the games, live on YouTube. Get highlight reels, interactive player interviews, and behind-the-scenes coverage on all your favorite teams. YouTube.com/TLN. Subscribe today.
Evans flip pass. Here's a shot. Dixon to the net. Scores!
The best way to get ready for the weekend's action is by watching NLL Live every Thursday night on the Lacrosse Network. Next week's player guest will be Dane Smith of the Buffalo Bandits. Catch the show live at 8 Eastern or on demand anytime at the home of the Lacrosse Network, youtube.com/TLN. Welcome back to the ACC. You see the fans all dolled up in St. Patrick's Day gear. It's technically Monday, but it's St. Patrick's Day weekend. 6-3 Toronto Rock lead the Rochester Knighthawks. Andy McNamara alongside Glenn Clark. You big St. Patty's Day guy, Glenn? You go out and get all dressed in green?
I don't get dressed in green, but I don't mind a few green beers.
There you go. Yeah, you have to. It's St. Patty's Day. Right?
Exactly.
Well, I got the McNamara.
Yeah,
so I got to represent, right?
Yeah.
Toronto with possession in their St. Patty's Day themed white and green uniforms. Rochester, teal, white, and purple. Toronto up by 3 here. And Garrett Billings trying to one-hand his way through. Lost possession. Picked up by Casey Behrens on the right wing. Little dump to Billings. Almost a little sloppy there. Billings couldn't get the shot away cleanly. Held back. And running out of real estate just barely was Stephen LeBlanc. Stephen LeBlanc, so fast and physical. Really utilizing that big body of his this year. Shot clock violation. It's a fresh 30 for Rochester. 8-7. Shots in favor of the visitors. Cody Jamieson backpedaling.
Rochester defensively really needs to be aware of that east-west ball movement. They got to have sticks and lanes. Guys that don't look like they're a threat are becoming open on Toronto, and it's it's going to hurt them.
Jameson got rid of it. Watch out for McCready, too. He moves into the low post. Went for the one-touch give and go. Didn't work out. And there's Sandy Chapman galloping down the floor. Pulls up in the neutral zone. Really pressing Rochester to be fast on their line changes. Rob Hellier dishes it to the right wing. Colin Doyle winds up. Off the mark. Had a lot of power to it. Garrett Billings picked set by the captain. Colin Doyle set up, into the high post. That's going to be a penalty. He was taken down hard by John Sullivan. And that's another no-doubter penalty there, in my opinion.
Yeah, Colin did a good job setting that high seal. He gets off those picks so quick, and he's so dangerous off ball. Sullivan didn't take him down. That was a clear lane to the net.
Have another look, and yeah.
This is one of the keys we talked about. I think Toronto has arguably the most dangerous power play in the league. They've got good inside, good outside ball movement. So this is going to be a key for them, being able to capitalize.
No doubt Toronto's first man advantage of the game. Rochester collected on their first power play. Garrett Billings going right after Vince on the stick side. Power play goal coming from Johnny Pallas earlier from Rochester. There's Paul Dawson, making sure he's over before the 8-second mark. Ball coming back, almost over and back. Walters had to just stand there. Didn't really have much room to do anything else. Minute 24 to go, the man advantage on the minor to Sullivan. Toronto possession, 20 on the shot clock. Possession on the right wing. Colin Doyle receives the sidearm pass. Doyle clicks with Sanderson. Put back for Billings. Went for the one-touch. Sanderson grabs it in the far corner. Stephen LeBlanc missed on the pick over the top. 30-second violation. 57 seconds to go on the power play for Toronto. The Knighthawks will try to kill the whole 30. Intercepted on the pass. Josh Sanderson came out of nowhere and will give Toronto another drive with this man advantage.
That's 2 freebie turnovers on this power play.
And a huge shoulder stop by Vince. Still free. Billings got hit under the chops. Rochester coming back the other way here. Now 30 seconds even. And here the Knighthawks will try to eat up that clock and get back to even strength. Just taking them time. It's also last minute of play in the first quarter. 10 seconds with the man advantage. Rochester looking shorthanded and a nice kick save by Nick Rose. Lobbing outlet pass. 5 seconds left on the shot clock, or on the penalty rather. 45 on the game clock. Penalty has expired. Sullivan on the floor. Sullivan remains on. Stephen LeBlanc here. Back to even strength. To the weak side Billings. Had a man on, threaded the needle, and Sanderson got double teamed, but what a pass by Garrett Billings, now almost in stride, trying to come up, and he stood tall. What do we have here?
Looks like too many men, Rochester. I think they called him for leaving the gate early.
Too many men right there. 24.4 seconds left in the first. So serving the in-home should be Corey Vitarelli, according to our notes. Joel McCready was going over there, but there he goes. So Rock possession. They go right to the power play again, and that's how they'll begin the second quarter too. Rock trying to go up by 4 to be a nice cushion against the two-time defending National Lacrosse League champions. Tiptoeing along that line, Stephen LeBlanc still in play. Paul Dawson moving it up. 8 seconds left. Rochester trying for one more. See if they get some shorthanded. 4 seconds. They're going to have to hurry. Puts it low. And putting everything behind it was Mike Kirk. As the opening quarter comes to an end, Toronto leads Rochester 6-3. We'll take the break and come back. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network.
Evans flip pass. Here's a shot. Dixon to the net. Scores! Curtis Dixon again! It's 11-10 Calgary.
Want more great NLL action? Subscribe to the Lacrosse Network on your computer, tablet, or mobile device for access to all the games live on YouTube. Get highlight reels.
Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com.
The next Toronto Rock home game is on Sunday, March 30th as the Rock host the Edmonton Rush. Game time here at the Air Canada Centre is 3 p.m. For tickets, visit torontorock.com. Andy McNamara alongside Glenn Clark here at the ACC. Second quarter underway. Rock leading the Knighthawks 6-3, and on a power play still for another minute 20, not anymore, as Garrett Billings pops his second of the night and gives Toronto a 4-goal lead.
Just as I mentioned, their power play is so dangerous. They've got good ball distributors, they've got dangerous shooters, and they've got good movement down low. You give them too many opportunities, and they're going to make you pay.
22nd of the year. Toronto Rock in their St. Patrick's Day themed white and green uniforms. Knighthawks in their visiting teal, white, and purple. Quick breakdown from you, Glenn, on what's going wrong with the Knighthawks tonight, because they don't look like they're playing poorly per se, but the Rock just seem to be clicking.
Yeah, I think it's more credit to the Rock. I think they're offensively, the Rock's doing a really good job moving that ball east-west, keeping the D spread out, and quick ball movement. They're causing some chaos in that defensive zone.
And Dawson caused a whole lot of chaos himself. We saw him score from that sidearm earlier, unable to finish it off there.
Nick Rose has made the saves they've needed so far.
Yeah.
So they've
Ethan
They're getting what they need out of Nick.
Yeah. 1 minute has gone by in this second. Whoa, and that was off the post. Bounced right back to Matt Vince. Sometimes you need to be good to be lucky, lucky to be good, and Vince got lucky right there.
And this is normally the position where Rochester starts to close the door. They don't let you get too far ahead, so we'll see if Toronto's able to keep this momentum going and really put some separation between the two of them.
Yeah, you can't take your foot off the gas. Dan Dawson went 5-hole. Nick Rose with a nice scoop. Nick Rose with a 12.96 goals against average compared to Matt Vince, 8.6 coming in. We were talking off air. Glenn, really, you want that sweet spot to be around the 10 mark, don't you, for goals against?
Yeah, you talk about that in your meetings and you know, as players and coaches. 10 is that magic number. You keep a team to 10 goals, and you're going to win more often than not.
Wild pass, ricocheted off the glass, taken by Stephen LeBlanc, 30-second shot clock violation. 2 minutes have gone by in the second. Rock so far this year at 3-3 when leading after the first quarter. Through traffic, and Joe McCready somehow got part of the shot off with some pushing and shoving behind Nick Rose between Edwards and Vitarelli. Pass high over the top of Hostrouser.
I don't know how McCready missed that shot. It looked like he was wide open net.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Let's see a replay on that one.
Shots even at 13 apiece. Colin Doyle scampering on the right. Pulls back. 4 on the shot clock. Toronto using up a lot of time on each possession, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, Glenn, but we've seen him get caught on a couple of turnovers from shot clock violations.
It looks like Toronto just took a penalty on offense.
Let's see, Jesse Gamble will be headed to the box for the second time tonight. First was due to fighting.
I think he grabbed the defender's stick on a pick, tried to gain a little bit too much of an advantage. Everybody holds, you just have to know when to let go.
That's a great point. Rochester scored on their first power play of the game, coming from Johnny Powlis in the first quarter.
Defense.
They would love one here. Hold within 3 and try to turn that momentum, and we know they can do it. Second place in the East by only a half game. Nice swinging kick save by Nick Rose. Vitarelli recovers.
Ran the same play they ran on the last power play, that little rotation with the strong side.
Trying to get as much movement out of Nick Rose as possible. Dan Dawson whipped it. Left side, stick side. Missed though. Here comes Damon Edwards, a speedy veteran. Off the top and one for the bouncer. That ball sails high and up into the Platinums behind the Toronto bench.
That was a 2-on-0 breakaway shorthanded. You don't see that too often.
No. Minute 10 remaining in the Gamble Minor. Rochester trying to capitalize with the man advantage. Swing left to right, and that almost looked too easy. That was smooth as butter there. We have to have a look at that. Dan Dawson just clicked and take a look.
Yeah, you got Rose stepping out to respect the outside shot.
That was textbook.
Yep.
That was just like you'd run in practice.
Yeah, it is. You go high, low, east, west. Goalie has a very difficult time finding his net after that.
So another power play helper, special teams becoming a real factor early on in this game. 3 special team goals total. Toronto's lead cut to 3. They're up 7-4 with 11:02 to go in the opening half. Ball knocked loose from Walters. Collects it in front of his own bench. The rookie Ethan O'Connor on him. A couple of young guns going toe-to-toe. That one off the post. So each team being saved by Steele. Rattling off the glass. And Keogh was being double-teamed. Now given some space. Johnson backed up. One for the screen over the top. Rose saw it just enough. Snap outlet pass finds Gamble, who's out of the box now. He'll head to the bench. Toronto's offense on the floor.
I think you're going to have a difficult time from Rochester's perspective trying to beat Rose with just a straight-on outside shot.
Oh! And Captain Colin Doyle took the feed, had a couple steps of space, line, right on the doorstep of Vince, buries it. 8-4. And a hat trick for Colin Doyle.
He's so good at catching balls in traffic and having the composure to make that move when there's bodies all around. That's what separates the great goal scorers from people like me.
21st, that's right. 21st of the year, you see his former teammate, now assistant coach Blaine Manning beside him. Giving the captain a little tap.
Looks like they're going to change goaltending, change a little bit of the momentum.
Okay, so Angus Goodley going to switch things up, and you don't often see Matt Vince getting the hook. Now, do you see this, Glenn, as being a give Vince a break, try to switch it up, or do you think this will roll the rest of the game?
I think at this stage, this is a wake-up for the team, and I think Mike is probably sending that message right now that you guys need to help your goaltenders out. Yep. I think he's doing this more for the team than for the goalies, and I do expect Vink will be back in.
So far, are you putting more of the onus on the Rochester back end compared to Vince?
Yeah, I think they're giving up a lot of quality shots, and I think the position, I mean, you've got Colin Doyle alone on the crease off a pick and roll.
Yeah.
There's not too many goalies. I mean, he's made a career out of putting those away. So.
Sure, and that was a missed assignment by John Sullivan there, allowing Doyle to scoop by him. 10:08 remaining in the half. Toronto rolling, but we've seen it all season long. Big save by Goodley right off the bat, being tested. That time by Rob Hellier. Rochester can come back and score in bunches. Over the top shot, looking for the rebound. Paul Dawson couldn't get it. And you're right, Glenn, when Rose can see it and you shoot straight on, he's going to stop 99% of those shots, but it's when you get him moving.
Yeah, he's very good positionally. You have to get that ball going high, low, east, west. And he steps out very aggressively on those outside shots.
And that was a good example of that as Dan Dawson gave to Vittorelli. Couldn't get the shot free, though. Dawson collects on the left wing near side. Sidearm whip went off the leg of Jesse Gamble. 30-second shot clock violation, and Toronto has possession. Scott Johnson gets rid of it in front of his own bench. And now the Toronto offense on the floor. Billings going up against Vittorelli. And Casey Beards created a nice lane, a push. And if that pass would have been on, he was all alone. Casey block to the weak side, a shot wide. Doyle again rearing back. Goodley standing tall. Angus Goodley been relief of Matt Vince. It looks sharp early. Self takes it behind and in stride.
Casey Burns is the best off-ball guy in the league. He's dangerous. He has a knack for getting open. Toronto player down.
Ostrauser down. Play continues. Ostrauser still down. And a crease violation.
No goal, crease violation.
No goal, that is the crease violation. Ostrauser using his stick as a cane to add to the bench. I didn't quite see what happened on when he went down, but he was definitely sore to get up. We're going to take the quick break, come back, and get you an answer on that. 8-4 Toronto up on Rochester. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network. The Rochester Knighthawks play twice this weekend. They will be in Philly tomorrow to take on the Wings at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll have the game live exclusively here on the Lacrosse Network. Welcome back to the ACC in Toronto. Toronto Rock leading the Rochester Knighthawks 8-4, 8:30 left in the second quarter. And really, Glenn, it's been to me more about Toronto keeping that pressure and momentum going rather than the flaws, outside of a few exceptions, for the Knighthawks.
Toronto's done a great job with ball movement on offense. They're spreading out the defensive team, and you've got athletes like Doyle and LeBlanc and Billings who, they have the ability to score from the inside and the outside, and that stretches the D and it gets them on their toes.
4 different goal scorers for Toronto tonight. A hat trick by Doyle, 2 by Billings, including a power play helper, a pair by Hellier, and Stephen LeBlanc. 1, 2, 3, 4 different goal scorers on the Rochester Knighthawks side of things, including 2 on the power play, so special teams a factor up. Hellier finding a lane, went for a bouncer too far in front of Goodleaf. Angus Goodleaf in relief of Matt Vince.
I haven't liked, from Rochester's perspective, I haven't liked how many times they're letting guys beat them underneath. You've got to have better body position. You get a guy beating you underneath and you've got no help.
Yeah, and that happened especially on that last, and a penalty coming to Toronto. Cody Jamieson took a hit up high, so the extra man on, Goodleaf to the bench. That happened on that Doyle goal. Sullivan missed an assignment. Jamieson, he's got deceiving power on that shot. When he chooses to let her ride, it's nasty.
He's so strong, especially on a stick. He goes through traffic with that stick, and you think you've got the ball stripped, and he finds a way to get through.
One of the best in the game, Scott Johnson, going to the sin bin for a couple. So Rochester with already 2 power play goals, a chance to pull within 3 one more time. Jamieson at the top, and Rochester cycling the ball well. Flicks with Jamieson. Keogh receives. These 2 are playing catch. 12 left on the shot clock. Jamieson receives over the top screen, well wide. Collected by Palace on the rebound, high again. 2 quality chances, but both shots were off the mark. Keogh going one more time. He missed. And that will be a 30-second shot clock violation. 3 shots from 3 guys you don't expect to miss too often. And a pass and a great opportunity for not shorthanded by Damon Edwards, following off the tip of the stick.
I almost wonder on that first one from Jamieson, it almost looked like he missed on purpose for Palace coming in from the side.
That would make more sense because he's not that inaccurate.
Yeah, it almost looked like they were on the same page with that one.
But then Palace missed and Keogh missed and Toronto almost scored, but they missed. Trying to shovel it in right there with Vitarelli. Rosie with a quick little stop. 56 seconds left on the power play for Rochester. On the minor to Scott Johnson of Toronto. 6:25 remaining in the half. Josh Sanderson dishes in front of the Rock bench. He heads down on the right wing. Garrett Billings taking his time, jogging in, eating up as much clock as possible. 7 seconds on the shot clock. Knock free, Scott Campbell on him. And the Rock tying up the ball just enough. Make that time tick away. 27 seconds left on the Johnson minor. So Rochester will have one last drive here to see if they can score another with the man advantage. Jamieson goes high on Rose, and Rose seems to have that top part of the net. If you don't get him moving, you're not beating him tonight. Just a gamble on Vitarelli. Vitarelli being smothered. 1 second left, and we're back to even strength going behind. Rose has been vulnerable to that plate several times this year. Behind the back pass, over the top, and a save. That coming from Vitarelli. And Corey Vitarelli, Glenn, looks like he's really starting to feel it right now. I expect some things out of him. Dawson puts to the weak side. Cody Jamieson being backed up, didn't see anything he liked. Palace sets the pick. They're trying to clump up the man and leave Keogh open. Keogh's shot accuracy has been terrible in the second quarter. Palace going low, and Nick Rose has looked phenomenal tonight. There's Bill Greer.
Rochester's getting looks, but they're straight on shot goalie, and you're gonna have a hard time beating Rose with those types of looks.
Absolutely. 4:48 left in this second quarter. 8-4 Toronto. Whoa, and they were a little bit too far out with Stephen LeBlanc. Goodleaf doing a nice job of sliding over. LeBlanc going at it with Dylan Evans. And Mac Allen racing up the floor, finds Kirk. Got over just before that 8-second violation would have kicked in. Rochester leading in the shot category, 24-17. The Knighthawks. Bit of a broken play, but got a nice opportunity on the behind-the-back attempt. There's Hostrauser. Waits for the offense to come on the floor. Clicks with Billings. Now Colin Doyle receives. Doyle on the right wing. Picked up by Sanderson. Went to the left, behind the back pass. Got a little too cute. Intended for Hellier. Captain corralled it in. That'll be a 30-second shot violation time. One more as we go from 1-0. And that will bring us to our second media timeout of the quarter. 8-4 the score. Rock leading Knighthawks. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network.
Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com.
Evans flip pass. Here's a shot. Dixon to the net. Scores! Curtis Dixon again! It's 11-10 Calgary.
Want more great NLL action? Subscribe to the Lacrosse Network on your computer, tablet, or mobile device for access to all the games, live on YouTube. Get highlight reels, interactive player interviews, and behind-the-scenes coverage on all your favorite teams. YouTube.com/TLN. Subscribe today.
If you missed a game from earlier this season, you can always go back and watch any NLL game on demand. Thanks to the Lacrosse Network. Just go to NLL.com and click on schedule from the main menu bar. Scroll to the game you'd like to watch. Click replay. It's any game, anytime from NLL.com and the Lacrosse Network. Welcome back to the ACC in Toronto. Rock doubling up the Rochester Knighthawks 8-4 with 3:44 to go in the second. Andy McNamara alongside former Rock player and coach Glenn Clark. Glenn, at this point in the second quarter, quick general thoughts from both sides. What are you liking? What are you not liking?
I really like Toronto's offense. I like how they're spreading the ball. They're moving it quickly. They're getting shots from different positions. They're shooting off the pass. I'm not liking Rochester on offense with it's staying in one stick too long, and they're getting shots from that Rose is being able to position himself and get a good look at. They've got to do a better job of getting the ball moving, getting Rose moving, and trying to get some deception in their shots. And that's another example of one stick, Rosie gets a position, and it's hitting him in the chest.
Of what not to do. And they did that on a couple of the goals. On Jameson's goal, they moved it well, so they've had success doing that. They just haven't gone back to it for whatever reason. And credit to the Rock defense, of course, as well. Billings gives it to the left wing. Tries for Doyle, and Angus Goodleaf in relief of Matt Vince has looked phenomenal.
And there's that good ball movement by Toronto, east-west. I mean, the save was made, but that's a dangerous play.
Absolutely. Rochester trying to pull to within 3. Knighthawks pulling back. Jameson waited. And the ball goes off the top again. Not collecting the rebounds, not getting it done. 2-on-1 here. And a Goodleaf with a big stop on Hostrauser. Angus Goodleaf. Looks like he's second in goals against average. Ball got knocked loose at the last second. Scott Campbell held it too high. Rookie Ethan O'Connor broke up that good scoring chance. Pat Merrill with possession, stands still in the neutral zone, waits. He'll head to the bench.
Goodleaf's looked good since he's come in. He's made some key saves.
Yeah.
Some tough saves.
So important to have that other goaltending option Toronto seeing if they have that with Steve Fryer being added and Zach Boychuk released from the club. There's Sanderson, scores! Shooter with the snipe. 9-4 Toronto.
Josh has such a deceptive shot. It's not the hardest, but he's got good shoulder drop. He's got good placement. He knows exactly where that ball's going, and he's hard to read as a goaltender.
Absolutely. Valuable veteran on this team. 13th goal of the season. And now 9-4. And this looks like a different Rochester team than we saw back here on February 15th. But the Knighthawks didn't really come on strong until the second half last time. So by no means is this one anywhere close to over.
No, there's a long way to go. And the key for Toronto is they've been susceptible to teams going on runs.
Yes.
And they want to avoid that. And that's hurt them in a lot of games this year.
Absolutely. Toronto winless on the road this year. Lost 2 in Alberta, Edmonton, and Calgary. 2 weeks ago, they were off on the bye, so I've had a long time to think about that. They've come off looking quite good, full of energy, power, and aggressiveness all game long. Dan Dawson being double and triple teamed right into white and green jerseys. Toronto wearing their St. Patrick's Day themed unis tonight. Look quite sharp. And
Dawson being doubled by his brother-in-law, Billy Greer.
hey, there you go. Lacrosse is really a family affair, isn't it? You see so many brother combinations, relatives of different aspects. It's such, you see it quite often, more than any other sport, I think, anyway.
Well, Patty O'Toole and Mike Hazen are brother-in-laws as well.
Breaks out, turns on the Jets, and scores! Oh, whoa! Talk about taking it to another gear. Brad Self pressed go on the rocket pack and somehow found some space behind Nick Rose. 9-5 Toronto.
Great move and composure in transition. He froze Rose with a little fake and just moved on by him.
Rochester goal, scorer number 25.
He took that speed to another level there, man.
Yes.
4th of the year, and this might be what the Knighthawks need, getting scoring from unconventional sources.
Yeah.
Not the usual suspects, if you will.
No, and that that can be a valuable tool, is the transition game. It can be a difference maker.
Absolutely.
Toronto shot with 45 seconds on the clock, so it doesn't allow Rochester to pull their goalie.
36 seconds to go now in the half. And going right back, big juicy rebound, wide open cage, and diving. That's a crease violation. Joel McCready going after it there. Chapman holding Joel down for an extra couple of seconds, letting him think about things.
Rochester probably would have preferred the timeout there to play for the 6-on-5.
Have a look at this opportunity, and McCready just got sandwiched.
Yeah.
Toronto with the timeout. And the Rock, when leading at the half, 3-1 this season. Overall at home this year, have only lost once. 4-1. Though obviously loving the comfy confines of the ACC. Now, if you've been a player, you've been a coach of this team, Glenn, what are you saying right now to your Rock team? What are you expecting out of the Rochester Knighthawks?
Toronto's obviously going to hold the ball until there's about 7 seconds left, and from Rochester's perspective, they're going to play a house. They're going to play a box with a man on a string in the middle and just try to take away dangerous lanes. They don't want any passes from high to low. They don't want any cross crease stuff. You almost want to play it like a short man box, and they're going to get a shot. You want to dictate where that shot comes from for the most part. So you're going to identify where those dangerous spaces are. You've got Colin Doyle in the middle, which will be a handful. So Rochester's going to try and put that ball in a stick and dictate where that shot comes from.
Let's see what they can do here. Stephen LeBlanc kicks it back to Hellier. He waits. Playing catch with Doyle now.
They'll probably go at about 9 seconds.
And that 9-second mark hits now. They got to go. 5 seconds. Colin Doyle takes it in the slot over the top, swatted down, and that will do it. Mac Allen getting his stick up and smacking it away, saving a good scoring opportunity. So the Knighthawks finish strong. Glenn, before we break, again, we talked a little bit of what you liked, what you didn't like. coming out of the half, immediately, what does the Rochester Knighthawks have to do to get back into this ball game?
They've got to reevaluate their offense and become a little bit more dangerous in the 5-on-5 game. You know, the transition game obviously is something they want to capitalize on as well. But I think they got to do a better job, as we mentioned, on ball movement and making the shots a little less predictable for Rose. Get him moving east-west, get him moving up and down in his crease, and get him a little bit uncomfortable, because when he sees it and you're standing planting, he's going to make those saves.
You can follow the National Lacrosse League on Twitter at NLL, myself at AndyMC81. Glenn doesn't have Twitter, so you can't follow him. That's okay.
Maybe I should get it.
We'll figure out a way to get a hold of Glenn. We'll take the break and come back at the half. Toronto Rock leading the Rochester Knighthawks 9-5. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network.
Welcome to NLL Halftime. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Walls of the Lacrosse Network. Join in the conversation on Twitter right now and let us know how your team is doing at the half. Let's get you caught up on last week's highlights and the standings as we head into Week 12 of the 2014 NLL season. The Edmonton Rush looking to become the first 9-0 team in NLL history as they host the Vancouver Stealth. The Stealth on the other end of the spectrum just trying to stay alive in the Western Division playoff race. Edmonton would get off to a hot start, leading 3-1 at the end of the first quarter, and Chris Corbeil's shorthanded goal early in the second would extend that lead. However, Vancouver would go in tied at the half 5-5. Included in that is the newly acquired Jamie Lincoln and his top 10 goal that made the TLN countdown. Vancouver would keep their streak alive moving into the third quarter as Reese Dutch gave Vancouver an 8-7 lead thanks to this amazing crease dive. However, Edmonton proved to be too much in the fourth as the hat trick by Robert Church gave Edmonton a lead they wouldn't relinquish, and the party continues at Rexall Place. The Rush win 10-9. Let's take a look at other action in Week 11 around the league. The Rochester Knighthawks continued their recent dominance over the Philadelphia Wings, winning in Blue Cross Arena by a final score of 13-8. In Colorado, the game goes to overtime over Calgary, and it's Sean Pollock who gets the game winner as the Mammoth win 10-9 over the Calgary Roughnecks. Finally, in Buffalo, the Buffalo Bandits hosted the Minnesota Swarm, and it was a late rally by Buffalo with Mark Steinhaus's 4 goals that propelled the Bandits to a 12-9 win. So what does all of this mean for the standings for your favorite team? Well, let's take a look first at the Eastern Division. The Buffalo Bandits with the win remain a half game ahead of the Rochester Knighthawks with a 7-2 record as they host the Calgary Roughnecks this Saturday night up at the First Niagara Center. Rochester holds close to second place with their 7-3 record, but they've got a tough doubleheader ahead of them, facing the Rock on Saturday and Philadelphia on Sunday, both on the road. Meanwhile, the Rock, who were off in Week 11, have a 4-6 record, but still holding on to a comfortable lead in third place. Again, they have a doubleheader this weekend, Saturday against Rochester, and then Sunday on the road against the Swarm. Meanwhile, on the outside looking in, it's Philadelphia and Minnesota, who both failed to capitalize on Toronto's off week. The Wings now sit with a 3-8 record, hosting a must-win game against the Rochester Knighthawks on Sunday, while the Swarm are all but out of it with a record of 2-8, heading to face the Rock on Sunday. It's another tight race in the NLL Western Division. The Edmonton Rush are comfortably in first place with that perfect 9-0 record, and Calgary sits in second place with that 6-4 record, 3.5 games back of the Rush. These two teams will collide on Friday night in another great Battle of Alberta. Third place battle has gotten a little bit clear as Colorado's overtime win has given them a 1.5 game advantage over the Vancouver Stealth. Colorado sits at 5-7, facing the Bandits in Buffalo on Saturday, while Vancouver sits in the cellar with a 3-8 record and takes Week 12 off. That does it for this episode of NLL Halftime. Thanks for watching. Hey, make sure to take to Twitter and let all the other NLL fans know how your team is doing at the half. We'll get you back to your game in just a moment. This is the National Lacrosse League on the Lacrosse Network.
One, the shot, he scores!
7-7 the score. Long play from behind the net. Shot, score, Minnesota.
Graham by Merrill, he's got Hall breaking, hits him in straight in on goal, he shoots and scores. And Jordan Hall ties it up at 6.
He'll be picked up by Buffalo. And Chad Cope is mauled on the way. Score, Buffalo! Dean Smith.
With
Billick. Thompson across the line. Hesitates, back pass, scores! Mark Matthews rips one, 2 shots, 2 goals. Through a screen, can't get the shot, now he fakes it, goes around, nice dives and scores! What a goal by Jamie Lincoln, great individual effort, extended full out.
As Mark Stainhouse comes down into the Minnesota zone to the near side, getting some help from one of his teammates, but breaks free, has the ball, still hangs on, scores!
To the corner, great recovery by Thompson. Garrison coming in, shoots, scores! Garrison just stuck with it, and now he ties Corbeil for the league lead. There.
Jones is back out there. Gets to Pollock, shot, he scores!
Sean Pollock is a sniper tonight. Keogh now around the D, scores! Stephen Keogh, one-handed pickup and converts on the behind the back and 4-3.
Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com.
Evans flip pass. Here's a shot. Dixon to the net. Scores! Curtis Dixon again. It's 11-10 Calgary.
Want more great NLL action? Subscribe to the Lacrosse Network on your computer, tablet, or mobile device for access to all the games, live on YouTube. Get highlight reels, interactive player interviews, and behind-the-scenes coverage on all your favorite teams. YouTube.com/TLN. Subscribe today.
Evans flip pass. Here's a shot. Dixon to the net. Scores!
NLL Radio offers the best online radio coverage of the National Lacrosse League. Listen on your smartphone. Just download the popular TuneIn radio app and find NLL Radio. Hear the latest episode of every show anytime on your phone. For more information, visit nll.com/radio. Welcome back to the Air Canada Centre in Toronto. Andy McNamara alongside former Toronto Rock player and coach Glenn Clark. The score at half, Toronto leading Rochester, the two-time defending NLL champions, 9-5. The Rock really need this win, Glenn, trying to avoid not only the season sweep, but to stay ahead of Philadelphia. Toronto sits in third in the East, Philly in fourth, and they're closing in win-wise. It's an important game.
Yeah, and playing in Minnesota tomorrow,
Absolutely.
if they don't get this win tonight, I mean, it gives Minnesota a real opportunity to close that gap and basically level it off. So it is a big game for them, and they've got to be happy with their start so far.
No doubt. The class of the NLL this year, still undefeated amazingly. Edmonton Rush, 10-0. That team has just everything going for it.
They're so solid. They play such an athletic, mistake-free or relatively mistake-free defense, good transition, and probably, the best young offensive player in the game, arguably Mark Matthews, who is he's a horse out on the floor, and a nice group to complement them.
Absolutely. Goal scorers for the Knighthawks: Dan Dawson, Joel McCready, Corey Vitarelli, Brad Self, and Johnny Paulus. 2 goals, though. The interesting point, though, is special teams have been a big factor in this game. 2 of the Knighthawks' 5 goals have come with the man advantage from Vitarelli and Paulus for Toronto. The captain, Colin Doyle, with a hat trick. Hellier with 2. Billings with 2. He scored up on the power play as well. LeBlanc and Sanderson. So Glenn, coming out of the break right now, Rochester want to try to get some momentum going. Angus Goodley still in goal in relief of Matt Vince. If you're Coach Mike Hazen, what are you telling your guys coming out?
They've got to get back to some of their core principles in terms of offense, ball movement, and creating some lanes and some space, and get Rose moving. We've talked a lot about this, where the straight-on shots, he's going to make those saves. And they got to try to have some difference makers in transition. I mean, they ended the half there with Brad Self scoring in transition, and that can be a real, advantage and a real difference maker for them.
No doubt. Toronto Rock in their special St. Patrick's Day uniforms, white and green. Rochester in teal, white, and purple. Toronto going from right to left on your screen. Hellier pulls back on the right wing, gives to Billings, fake shot. Stutter steps behind, nice behind the back shot to the weak side. Had Goodleaf going, but the shot was off by LeBlanc. Here's Billings looking for a lane. Into the baseline, sent back to LeBlanc. Didn't look like he had everything behind that shot. Kind of floated into Goodleaf.
Wrist shot.
Campbell. Yeah, wrist shot. There you go. 4:15 left in the third quarter. Action just underway, and there you go. Rochester Knighthawks. A piece of equipment falls off him. His shoe. Jameson, shoeless Cody Jameson. There you go.
What a feed from defensive transition player Scotty Campbell. In traffic. That's a guy whose game has really evolved from when he first came into the league.
Yeah, no doubt. So 9-6, and this, if you're the Toronto Rock, is what you want to avoid. Cody Jameson getting hot, his first there, and we've seen this team can score in clumps, and the Rock, as you said, Glenn, are prone to giving up scoring in bunches.
Yeah, and it's got to wear on their confidence. I mean, you see a goal, if Rochester scores another one, I mean, the sticks will be tightened, and we'll see how they respond to this.
Some Irish theme music here at the ACC on a St. Patrick's Day weekend. Joe Walters went for the screen sidearm whip. Rolls at the stop. Whoa, Paulus with the hack. He got hacked by Pat Merrill. We'll get to your tweets throughout the game as well, using hashtag NLL Talk to @AndyMC81 or @NLL. Glenn doesn't have Twitter. Coming back, a shot, 1-5 hole. Have some of them coming in, so we'll get to those and your questions for Glenn Clark. Damon Edwards dishes and heads off. Garrett Billings back pedals. Low pass taken out the shin by the captain Colin Doyle. Already has the hat trick tonight. Over 500 career goals. He reached that feat this season. Glove save by Goodleaf. Over 1,300 career points as well. He reached that on the Alberta road trip. Corey Vitarelli off the crossbar. Second time Nick Rose has been saved by Steele tonight. Hold on now. Here's Ostrauser. A 2-on-1. As Johnson went, Ostrauser going to do it himself, and Angus Goodleaf has looked spectacular in relief of Matt Vince. 9-6 to score.
He's really kept this game close. Toronto's had some big opportunities, and he's made some big saves.
No doubt, and that's always the question mark. It's how is that relief goalie gonna help you? Gonna be able to stand tall? Toronto didn't like what they had in Zach Boychuk, so switched up to Steve Fryer. Those acquisition and release coming this week. Another post as the 30-second shot clock expires there.
And it's a nice tool to have as a coach. If you got confidence in the guy who's coming off the bench, it allows you to change momentum. It allows you to send messages to players, and you can do it with the confidence that he's going to make the big saves. So it's a nice tool for Coach Hazen to have.
No doubt Jamieson went off the helmet of Powless. He had a clear look, decided to dish it. Instead, Jamieson all alone scores! Got stuck in behind, Rock unable to clear it, and look out, here come the Knighthawks.
This is the danger that we talked about. You got a team that can score in bunches.
And you see Jamieson with the nod. He has the A on his jersey, but his acting captor was Sid Smith out of the lineup. Jamieson is 25th of the year, one of the best in the game today. Damon Edwards got by him. I think he gave him a shinny there for a moment. Ball being swatted around on the ground.
Yeah, you leave Cody Jamieson alone on the crease. Those hands are pretty quick, and he puts the ball where he wants it.
Poundall takes in the far corner, trying to back his way through. Got to watch that behind the back pass, and he did it right there, unable to connect with Josh Sanderson. Sanderson underhand toss, finds Hellier on the left wing. Gave it quickly to Doyle, spinning again. Doyle waits, tricked everybody, including his teammate Casey Behrens. Another 30-second shot clock violation, and that's a problem we saw developing in the first half, Glenn, is that the Rock are getting opportunities but taking too long to actually get it on net.
And that's a product of good defense. I mean, as a coach and a defensive coach, you say that sixth man is that 30-second clock. If you can get that down low into the clock, you've done a good job defensively.
Yeah, great point. Finds Walters on the weak side. Walters, the head fake. Walters getting sandwiched. He's nothing but white jerseys. Ran into three of them. Toronto trying to corral the loose ball. It was kicked. Powless gobbled it up. And there's another shot clock violation. Rock ball this time.
Anytime you hear that buzzer go off for a shot clock violation, I mean, that's an area of pride for defensive players.
Here's Billings. Waits over the top. In behind the back of Goodleaf. Didn't see it. Rochester moving the ball well and quickly, pulling to within 2. Went into halftime trailing 9-5. Toronto went leading at the half 3-1 this season. All of the Rock's victories coming at home in the ACC. Winless on the road. Jamieson looking for space. Through a screen, over the top, count it. Jamieson with a hat trick. All of them coming in the first 5 minutes of this second half.
That is just an unbelievable shot. Freezes Rose and bounces it up into the far side. What a shot.
Well, now, if you're Coach John Lovell, do you think of making a goaltending switch, Glenn? Maybe not for the whole game, but to mix things up a little bit. Does that come into your mind with Steve Fryer being added just this week?
It's a tough call. I mean, you gauge the players, you gauge the momentum, and you know, you certainly see more from behind that bench than we do from up here. But he's got to read the body language of the players, and you know, it's a tough call, especially with somebody that's relatively unproven.
And hold on now, we are all tied up. Jamieson with his fourth, number 88 looking unstoppable right now. They got to double that man up. It's been all Cody Jamieson, and he single-handedly has tied up this ball game. It's 9-9.
Tough position for Coach Lovell. I mean, you've got a guy on the bench that, you know, hasn't seen any action with you at all this year. It's going to be a tough call to make that.
Best case scenario, you don't have to, but yeah, that's the comfort level that Rochester has, isn't it? Because you can go to Goodleaf and still feel okay.
Absolutely, and we mentioned that. What a valuable tool for Coach Hazen to have. And we also talked about these runs that you know, Toronto has been susceptible to, and you wonder how that wears on the psyche when, you know, they're feeling pretty good about a 9-5 lead, and all of a sudden it's 9-9.
When here we go again, 9-all the score. Toronto and Rochester. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network.
Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National...
This copyright telecast of the National Lacrosse League Incorporated may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the National Lacrosse League. Welcome back to the ACC. We're all tied up at 9. Toronto and Rochester. Andy McNamara alongside Glenn Clark. It has been all Cody Jamieson. And before the start of the half, I had a tweet from Justin Millerson using hashtag NLL Talk to me at AndyMC81. Glenn, he asked, do you think Goodleaf starts the second half? He did, but do you think that's more the fact that they felt comfortable on how Goodleaf was playing, or that they felt maybe this just wasn't Vince's night?
I think it might be a combination of two. I think Goodleaf earned it. He came in and, initially it's a momentum changer for Coach Hazen, but you have a goalie that comes in and makes key. I mean, he made 4 or 5 key saves.
Sure.
And kept momentum with Rochester and didn't allow Toronto to separate. So, you as a player, you want a chance to earn your time, and he earned it.
Stefan LeBlanc had a crease violation, was being held after there. Under 9 minutes to go in the third. Number 88 on the floor. He has been a man possessed in this second half. All 4 Rochester goals coming from Jamieson. He didn't have any in the first half. Jamieson putting his shoulder down like a linebacker, going up against fellow 88, Scott Johnson. Waiting over the top. And Nick Rose trying to regain his composure. He was dynamite during the first 2 quarters, stopping just about everything. But as you said, Glenn, and aptly pointed out, if you get Rose moving, that's where he's weak.
Yeah, and you can just feel momentum switching a little bit.
Went high and wide. Sandy Chapman recovered. Has to get over for the 8-second. Chapman turns on the Jets, has to hurry over, and just makes it before that 8-second violation kicked in. Garrett Billings has a mini pick set by Bearns. Just kind of waved down with his elbow. Bearns at the back door. Bearns got caught up in the defender. Paul Dawson with his large frame in the way. And now Self racing up on the break out of the transition. Going to Self. Hugging that post was Rose.
I think that was another goal post.
Yeah, that might have been. Ethan O'Connor, the rookie, has done a good job on transition so far in this season, earning more playing time. There's Hellier, gave to O'Connor on the right side. Low post, O'Connor spins free. O'Connor trying to stay out of that crease, does so over the top, Superman jump. Goodleaf made sure his back was flush against that crossbar. Some pushing and shoving going against O'Connor. Shots 38-24 in favor of the visitors. Dan Dawson clicks on the left side. There's Vitarelli. Jamieson on the right wing. Jamieson, a strange behind the back underhand toss. Looking for a sneaky one from Paulus. Getting his shoulder in the way. His right one was Rose making the stop. There comes Bill Ostrauser. Played for Vancouver earlier this year. Got in a fight when Vancouver came into Toronto. And a couple days later, he was a Toronto Rock. So I guess John Lovell liked the feistiness that number 91 brought to the table. Nice dish by Doyle. Receives it now. Sanderson trying to create some room. And Goodleaf went down to a knee. Cut down that angle. Loose ball scramble on the near side in the corner. Ball still free. Paul Dawson now. Paul Dawson with the bouncer to Self.
Goodleaf has done a good job at stopping any momentum, any runs that Toronto can have, because they certainly had good opportunities.
Sure. It's a fresh ball game now. We're all tied up. 9-9. Not anymore. Scars. Stephen Keogh with the underhand scoop celebration. He was a rock killer when they played on February 15th. Have a look.
Big steal by Dan Dawson, freezing two men and allowing Kehoe to go underneath. Goalies are at such a disadvantage when those players get on the crease and they come with momentum.
The Rock have allowed 5 unanswered goals. Toronto in their St. Patrick's Day themed white and green jerseys. Teal and white and purple for the Knighthawks. Johnson pulled back. Rock trying to get some sort of momentum back. And the Knighthawks recover. This Rochester Knighthawks team are not back-to-back defending NLL champions for no reason, and they've done it with a young squad built for sustained success here, Glenn. This isn't a veteran club that put everything together for 1 or 2 years and then broke down and rebuilt. They still have all of their core together.
Yeah, they've got a great mix of the Dan Dawsons and the Cody Jamesons
and
Joe Walters.
Man, not known for his power, but rears back. Put some stink on it, and it's 11-9.
Looks like Coach Lovell is making the switch.
Well,
going to try and change some momentum.
So we're going to see our first look at number 39, Steve Fryer. Played with the Philadelphia Wings last year, 23-year-old Brampton native. Was a backup goalie there. Picked up this week. Zach Boychuk released.
And one of the things we mentioned in the pregame was Toronto avoiding those long runs by the opposition. It's a 6-goal run by Rochester, and they've been, they've had a bad habit of letting the other teams make these long, sustained runs.
Well, getting ugly, and Nick Rose's goals against has risen this year at around 12.96, I believe, coming into this game, compared to 8 and change for Matt Vince. Second in the NLL. Oh, and Casey Bearns, the backdoor specialist, scoots in out of nowhere. Rock recovered. Oh, and turned inside out was Jesse Gamble. That was nasty. I'm not sure if they're going to show another look at that. The Knighthawks will get a penalty.
I thought initially he caught him sort of in the stick and shoulder, and his own stick went up into his face, but I don't know if he's calling it on the head shot or not.
Scott Self with the penalty. We'll step aside. Rochester's taking the lead 11-9. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network. Catch the top 10 plays exclusively on the Lacrosse Network every Wednesday following the weekend's action. Visit youtube.com/TLN to see if your favorite play made the cut. If you see a play that's top 10 worthy, tweet about it to @Lacrosse Network and include hashtag NLL Top 10. That's NLL Top 10 using numbers for 10. Welcome back to the ACC. You see the penalty that went to Scott Self on Jesse Gamble. Those two, of course, fought earlier in the game, so that interaction and altercation nowhere near being done. Andy McNamara with Glenn Clark.
We talked about one of the keys early in the broadcast about the Rock power play, and this is a great chance to kill some or get some of that momentum back.
Special teams have been a big story tonight. Rochester with 2 power play goals, Toronto with 1, and boy, do they need one here. 4 straight goals to start the third quarter by Cody Jamieson. Joe Walters adding one as well, and it's been Stephen Keogh also. This team is phenomenal. And as we said earlier, we weren't just saying for the sake of it so you'd stay with us that it's not over yet. It really wasn't. Keogh on Steve Fryer, who came in relief of Nick Rose. So we're seeing both backups in action here. Angus Goodleaf on the other side.
Yeah, and quite a dangerous look from a short man set.
Toronto trying to get that east-west movement on Goodleaf. 3:28 remaining in the third quarter. Campbell having trouble corralling the ball off the glass. Heads off, and there's Cody Jamieson. No goals in the first half. 4 in the third quarter. That's how good this guy is. He can score in clumps, and this Rochester team is so dangerous on so many levels.
And great players, right? They're timely. They understand when the goals need to come.
30-second violation. Walters shooting right on, eating up that time. Wanted a penalty, not going to get it. 10 seconds left on the minor to Self. If anything, even if they don't score, Glenn, at least this allows Toronto to try to gain their composure a little bit with the man advantage. Behind the back pass. In close, Hellier maybe thought about shooting too long. We're back to even strength. Self gallops back on the floor, another post. My goodness, the steel pipes on the nets have been just as valuable as the goaltenders in this one tonight. Self gives to the other side. Chapman waving his arms around. Paulus gave to Vitarelli. Paulus sets the pick. Tries to anyway. Cody Jamieson gives to the left wing. Rochester offense now trying to get in position. Dan Dawson to Jamieson on the weak side. Had some space. Not anymore. One touch to Paulus. Scores! Trickling through. Fryer made the initial stop, and it rolled backwards after him. Take us through this one.
Just a pick and roll, a high pick and roll, and Jamieson just threw a little lob ball up, and Paulus made an unbelievable catch in traffic and got the shot off quickly. That's a tough play with all those bodies sliding to knock you on your keister, and he caught it with one hand, extended, and made a beautiful shot.
So Fryer's first taste of being a Toronto Rock not going so well. He's out. Nick Rose back in, so a different mindset than Coach Mike Hazen of the Knighthawks, who is stuck with Goodleaf. And he's quite frankly stood on his head so far since coming in for relief.
He's earned his minutes, and that's what you want as an athlete, and he's certainly done a good job here of keeping himself in that net.
Goodleaf has been a solid number 2 for several years in the NLL, before in Buffalo. Now making his home in Rochester. Puts his head down. That was nasty. And Rose backpedaling out, came out to get down the angle, then scrambled, almost fell back on himself.
Well, when you're backing up to arguably the best goalie in the NLL, and you can come in and keep the net for over a half, you're doing a good job.
No doubt. So Toronto, who had a 9-5 lead into half, now trail 12-9. Bounce pass off the mark and wide. Billings fell back, went over his stick and out of play. Minute 19 to go in the third. We talked about the Rock being susceptible to runs. The Rochester Knighthawks are on one heck of a one here. Toronto has not scored yet in this second half.
Very similar to the last game Rochester was here.
Absolutely.
I believe it was a 7-goal run the last time as well, and this has been a 7-goal run.
And Rochester took that one 17-9. The Rock have 9 goals right now. Last minute of play in the third. Rob Hellier was a couple tonight. And the Rock break. The third quarter shutout Garrett Billings stepping up and doing what he has to do. His third of the night, a hat trick for number 13.
That's a little post-up move by Billings, giving himself a lane underneath and floats one into the top corner.
23rd of the year. League leader in points is Garrett Billings. Matt Merrill and Dylan Evans taking the face-off. 43 seconds to go in the quarter. There's Ethan O'Connor on the transition. Kicked it back to the neutral zone, found Damon Edwards. Edwards holds up. 20 on the shot clock, 33 on the game clock. Toronto's pulled to within 2. Toronto's saying we're not done yet. Behind the back pass. Found Doyle, couldn't get the shot off. Had a clear lane, but tied him at the last moment. Billings went far side high, off the mark. 15 seconds, can they keep it on the half? And Mike Kirk smothering Captain Colin Doyle, preventing him from getting to the ball before it went over center. 11 seconds left, Rochester net empty, extra man on. 8 seconds though, they're going to have to move quick. 6 seconds now, still way back, Jameson with the bouncer, 3 seconds. Behind the back pass, 1 second now. Waits, and is it going to count? Oh, that was close. They're going to say it did. Doesn't get any closer than that. That was tenths of a second. Some pushing and shoving afterwards. Glenn, did you see? Did you think that came in regulation?
I thought it was good. We'll get a look here. I thought it beat the clock. Referee signaled a goal.
Okay, so that
be interesting to see if they challenge.
They're going to count it for now. So Joel McCready with his second of the game. We're going to step aside at the end of 3. Rochester 13, Toronto 10. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network.
Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns.
The next Toronto Rock home game is on Sunday, March 30th as the Rock host the Edmonton Rush. Game time here at the Air Canada Centre is 3 p.m. For tickets, visit torontorock.com as Triple H's Time to Play the Game comes out over the loudspeaker here at the ACC, and the Rock better wake up fast. The Knighthawks up 13-10. Andy McNamara alongside Glenn Clark. Glenn, when the second half started, the Rock led 9-5, and then Cody Jamieson happened.
And the whole Rochester offense happened as well. I mean, yeah. Cody kick-started it, but they've got so many weapons.
Oh, yeah.
And to go on an 8-1 run to start.
Make that a 9-1 run now, heading into the fourth quarter.
I was just about to say that it's important that Toronto doesn't let Rochester get the next goal.
Well,
And what a shot by Vitarelli.
That's his third of the night. One came on the power play. And you see the goal scoring being spread around. 4 by Jamieson, 3 by Vitarelli, 2 by McCready, singles by Walters, Dawson, and Powers.
And that's the blueprint of a championship team. You've got a variety of weapons that can hurt you, not only in the offensive set, but transition, defense. So they've got it. And as we've seen goaltending, the depth they've got with the backup end with Goodleaf.
Glenn, if I were to tell you Matt Vince would be pulled in this game, you'd think the Rock were going to win it. Angus Goodleaf has stood on his head in taking over and has been phenomenal.
Yeah, and he's got a good body work. He's got a good resume, but you're right. I mean, he's you've arguably got number 1 or number 1A in Vink.
Yeah.
And I mean, to pull Vink tells a story in terms of momentum. So you'd think, sure. Yeah, Toronto would have a huge advantage.
Absolutely. 14:01. Just under a minute have gone by in the final quarter. Toronto has the horses, though, to score in chunks themselves. Can they? Here's Garrett Billings. Has a screen created for him, looking for a lane. Casey Bierns. Billings creeping his way through. Billings standing back. 15 on the shot clock. Billings still in possession somehow. Now it's knocked free. Being double teamed. Clicked it to Sanderson. And LeBlanc went behind to Doyle over the top. And it looked almost like that Billings was trying to draw every single Rochester player towards him, and it almost worked.
Yeah. And Toronto's got a dangerous offense. I mean, they can score in bunches as well, but they've just, it's been such a momentum kill since they switched the goalie.
Yeah.
It's been 2 goals on Goodleaf since second quarter. I'm not sure what point in the second quarter, but he certainly shut the door and done his job.
Nick Rose pulled for a couple minutes for Steve Fryer, newly acquired goaltender. Fryer let in 1, and Rose went back in. Here's Chris White, veteran defender. Out a large part of the opening few games of the season. Shot right on. Goodleaf stood tall.
Miscommunication between the defender and the goalkeeper. Could have let that go back into the crease. Gives Toronto another free possession.
20 seconds on the shot clock now. Stephen LeBlanc sidestepping, shuffling to Doyle at the top of the slot for a strange backhanded underhand whip. Goodleaf saw all of it. Here's Kirk. Air Canada Center crowd coming alive, trying to will on to Toronto Rock, who are in their St. Patrick's Day themed white and green jerseys with the Shamrock as the logo. Rochester teal, purple, and white. A nice stop by Nick Rose, trying to gain back some of that momentum.
Yeah, Palace all alone on the crease. Dangerous player, and Rose made a nice save.
Shots 48-32 in favor of the Knighthawks. The majority of those coming from the second quarter onward, and especially in the third, it's been all Knighthawks. And looks like Ian Lord is down, right by Angus Goodleaf, slow to get up. Didn't quite see what happened there, Glenn. Maybe had the wind knocked out of him, and he's back up now.
I'm not sure what was happening there. Lord was down on a knee in the crease, but he wasn't hurt. I don't know what the rationale was for that stoppage. I don't think Toronto's too happy about it.
No. Fresh 30 for Toronto. Sanderson moves to the low post. Stephen LeBlanc turns on the heat. Stephen LeBlanc in behind. Quick stutter step stop. Turn on a dime. Turn the ball over. But what quickness by LeBlanc. Here comes Evans. Finds Keogh. Keogh with the body check. Falls from his back with the shot. Still got it away. Keogh's not the biggest player, but he is feisty and physical.
He's strong. Not the best decision in transition. You probably want to pull that out when you're going 1-on-2 and falling down, but clock becomes an issue now for Toronto.
Absolutely. 11:17 remaining in the game. Colin Doyle, another underhand behind the back shot. He's done that for the third time tonight. Hasn't been overly accurate with it.
Rochester's going to muck this ball, let the 30-second shot go.
The Knighthawks with possession here.
Rochester wants to get some good sustained possessions here, eat up clock, and Toronto's going to have to start getting aggressive on defense.
Yeah, and when you have the quality goaltending, getting forward at this stage in the game, no easy task. Cody Jamieson, winding, waiting, finds underneath once, twice, scores, count it. Joe Walters with about 4 or 5 quick stick moves, psychs out Rose on a beautiful dish from Cody Jamieson. What
a pass in traffic.
Wow.
Backhand pass past 3 Rock defenders. And good composure by Walters to dance that crease, make Rose freeze and slip feet and put it beside him.
That's Walters' 12th of the year. Second of the night. And that was on the 50th Rochester shot of the evening compared to Toronto's 33. If Rochester wins, they're only a half game back of Buffalo, so they would temporarily take charge of first place. Both Rochester and Toronto in doubleheader action this weekend. Standing tall, high shoulder stop by Goodleaf. Sent back to Bierns, finds Doyle. Doyle, overhand hurl. And one person who has been held in check has been Casey Bierns tonight. Glenn, usually a factor coming in the back end. Rochester's done a nice job shutting him down.
Casey, I think Casey's the best off-ball player in the league in terms of playing without the ball in his stick. And one of the things Rochester's done a really good job of is shutting down passing lanes.
Yeah.
Toronto's got those high seals where they're looking usually to put the ball down to the crease, and Rochester's got a body and a stick in those lanes, and they've done a good job with that.
All alone in behind, and another goal. Corey Vitarelli, a defensive breakdown for Toronto. Edwards was up too high. Walters with the feed, and Vitarelli was all alone.
That two-man jumped the ball carrier, not enough communication on that pick and roll. You've got to decide who's going to fire through and who's going to drop off, and they both jumped the ball carrier and left Vitarelli all alone. Well executed. Another goaltending switch.
Yeah. So
this is an 11-1 run for Rochester.
Yikes. Second goaltending change of the game for Toronto. So Fryer in, and we talked about Nick Rose's 12.96 goals against average coming in. That's being raised tonight dramatically.
Well, we mentioned the shared responsibility, defense and goaltending. We're trying to identify, where the problem lies, but it's been a bit of both, right? I mean, you've got guys breaking down defensively, and the communication maybe isn't there. And anytime you're in that two-man pick-and-roll game as a defender, I mean, you got to talk early and often. If somebody finds your back, you've already lost the battle. You got to be talking as that pick is coming and work your way through it.
That's a great point. That's what happened on that Vitarelli goal. Just came in, nobody there. Can't really blame Rose on that. Dawson went near side post. Fryer hugged it and made the stop. Just over 9 minutes remaining. Toronto desperately need a goal here to try to grab back any sort of momentum and get on a run.
I mean, as crazy as it sounds, you're almost getting at the point for Toronto that you pull your goaltender.
Well, yeah.
Right, you got
6
goals with 8.5 minutes left, and you run out of minutes.
And pass too high for Colin Doyle, too hot to handle. Goes to the Rochester bench. As we take the break, it will be Rochester ball. 16-10, the Knighthawks rolling over Toronto. This is the NLL on the Lacrosse Network.
Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com. Support the National Lacrosse League and show the world you're a fan with team merchandise from the National Lacrosse League official online store, shop.nll.com. You'll find a great selection of National Lacrosse League team items, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories, and more. You'll also find great customer service, 365-day hassle-free returns, and fast shipping. So show the world you support the National Lacrosse League with official gear from shop.nll.com.
Evans flip pass. Here's a shot. Dixon into the net. Scores! Curtis Dixon again! It's 11-10 Calgary.
Want more great NLL action? Subscribe to the Lacrosse Network on your computer, tablet, or mobile device for access to all the games, live on YouTube. Get highlight reels, interactive player interviews, and behind-the-scenes coverage on all your favorite teams. YouTube.com/TLN. Subscribe today.
The Rochester Knighthawks play twice this weekend. They will be in Philly tomorrow to take on the Wings at 4 p.m. We'll have the game live exclusively here on the Lacrosse Network. Welcome back to the ACC. Andy McNamara alongside former Toronto Rock player and coach Glenn Clark. You can follow me on Twitter at AndyMC81, the league at NLL. Join the conversation using hashtag NLL Talk. The Rochester Knighthawks 16-10 up on the Rock. And man, Glenn, it's been nothing but Knighthawks. Only one goal for Toronto since the start of the second half.
Yeah, and you saw the shift, and we talked about it early in the third quarter about stemming the momentum Rochester had got, but an 11-1 run for Rochester is just, that's unheard of. And
it's deja vu all over again for Toronto, who looked good in the first half back on February 15th, ended up falling 17-9 to Rochester, now down 16-10. 52 shots by the Knighthawks to 35 for the Rock, and Toronto coming up full of fire. They look dominant for most of that first half. Went behind the net, almost took the officials' head off there. Now the passes are getting sloppy for Toronto, which we were clicking earlier. Just can't get anything going. Rochester's shutting it down, and that's all with backup goaltender Angus Goodleaf in there.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before the break, I think you're at the way the flow of the game is going, the way your offense is being shut down, I think it's goalie pull time. You've got to, this is a sort of a unprecedented run, and you've got to try and do something a little bit desperate to try and gain some momentum back.
Ball knocked loose from Dan Dawson. Damon Edwards recovers. If Toronto falls tonight, they'll drop to 4-7. Rochester would improve to 8-3, and the Knighthawks have a chance to really put a stranglehold on everybody below them in the division if they beat Philadelphia tomorrow. Goodleaf with a stop. Hellier flies into the backup goalie.
Makes that game in Minnesota all that more important as well.
Oh, for Toronto, yeah, because if the Swarm win, then they would be at 3 victories. Toronto still at 4. That Eastern Division for that final playoff spot getting ever tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Cody Jamieson directing traffic, still in control. So big and strong as Jamieson. Fast, too. Stephen Keogh with the screen, and count it! Keogh with another underhand scoop celebration, his second of the night. Screen set, and number 28 buries it.
Yeah, unfortunately for Toronto, a very similar outcome than the last time Rochester was in this building.
6:46 to go, and there have been 2 goaltending changes for Toronto. Nick Rose, then Steve Fryer. And Rose back and Fryer out. Or Fryer still in now, so I think they're just trying to spare Nick Rose a little bit here.
Looking towards tomorrow.
Well, that's it. And you can't dwell on this one.
No, because...
and scores! A trickler. Goodleaf got a bit. Coast to coast for Rob Marshall. And we talked about unlikely or uncommon scoring for Rochester at the end of the first half. Maybe that's what Toronto needs.
They need that and 6 more of them.
Yeah. First goal of the year, too, for Rob Marshall. Nicely done there. But you're right, still 6. And Marshall just kind of jogged in and said, hey, I got some space. I'll do it myself.
Yeah, it looked like the defenders made the choice to let him shoot, and he just kept going down the middle. And Rochester has dominated on the face-offs as well.
Great point.
They're, after all their goals, they're starting with possession. After Toronto goals, they're gaining possession, which has been a good tool for them.
Behind the back shot, stopped by Rose. There's Bill Hostrauser. Toronto cannot be timid or take the foot off the gas by any stretch. They got to turn up the heat right now and keep it up. Stephen LeBlanc pulls back. Right wing, dish to the left, sidestepping Billings, finds Hellier, tries to go weak side, and going east to west, post to post, Goodleaf with another stop on Josh Sanderson.
Toronto's got to push pace, got to push tempo. They got to start cheating on defense, try and create some transition. They're not just going to possession this out with Rochester if they want to get back in this game.
Absolutely. 55 shots for Rochester to 38 for Toronto. Knighthawks. Dawson spinning around up against Sandy Chapman. Dawson can dominate with his size and positioning whenever he wants, and did so just there. Didn't convert to a goal, though. 10 minutes have gone by in this final quarter.
Yeah, Dawson is very tough to contain one-on-one. He's big, athletic, strong. He's got a great stick.
Stefan LeBlanc has a pick set by Doyle. Cycles back out, goes to the left wing. Out of the back door, Rob Hellier doing his best Casey Behrens impression. But Angus Goodleaf saying, I don't think so.
Angus Goodleaf has been phenomenal this
I was
game.
just going to say the exact same thing. He has been phenomenal tonight. Use whatever adjective you want. He has been tremendous. All in relief of Matt Vince. And with that, we'll take our final media timeout. The Rock have a lot of work to do. Trail by 6. Knighthawks rolling 17-11. You're watching the NLL here on the Lacrosse Network.
Evans flip pass. Here's a shot. Dixon into the net. Scores! Curtis Dixon again. It's 11-10 Calgary.
Want more great NLL action? Subscribe to the Lacrosse Network on your computer, tablet, or mobile device for access to all the games, live on YouTube. Get highlight reels, interactive player interviews, and behind-the-scenes coverage on all your favorite teams. YouTube.com/TLN. Subscribe today.
Stay with the Lacrosse Network for more live NLL action tomorrow with a pair of games to close out the weekend. The Knighthawks travel to Philly to take on the Wings tomorrow at 4 Eastern. Then it's the Rock in Minnesota to face the Swarm at 6 Eastern. Visit the Lacrosse Network homepage, youtube.com/TLN for live viewing of games. Back at the ACC, Andy McNamara alongside Glenn Clark, 17-11 Rochester. It's been all Knighthawks in this second half, leading the Toronto Rock 17-11. One other game in action so far tonight. Buffalo hosting the Colorado Mammoth. We have a score.
7-5, late in the third.
For who? Buffalo?
For Buffalo,
For
sorry.
Buffalo. 7-5 Buffalo, first in the East Division. So they would keep that half-game lead over Rochester if they're victorious tonight. Both Toronto and Rochester in action tomorrow. Rochester against Philly. An empty net for Toronto, having the extra man on. We talked about how they have to do that. So Steve Fryer better have his running shoes on because he's going to be in and out. Rock in Minnesota, 30-second shot clock violation. Rochester ball, Fryer forced back in. And now it's just a matter of Rochester trying to run out the clock, each 30-second possession. As time ticks away for the Toronto Rock.
Toronto's got to get more aggressive, get this ball in the air. They just can't possession this game out. They're going to run out of minutes.
No, you're absolutely right. They need to go.
They got to get it
and go for it.
Yeah, and they got to get aggressive on defense. Make Rochester pass the ball, get it in the air. Sitting back and letting them kill 30 seconds.
Can't do it.
No, it's not going to help them.
No, can't do it. Watch for Steve Fryer to get ready to come out of the net. Still in between the posts right now. Garrett Billings on the left wing. Garrett Billings up against Campbell. Pick set by the captain. Colin Doyle had the one-touch, one-timer. Was right in the middle of the logo, though, of Angus Goodley. Shots 56-40 in favor of the Knighthawks. Surprised that Steve Fryer is still in his net. Going right on a long one, no rebound. And that shot to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense, Glenn.
No, and you mentioned Fryer still in the net. At the very least, it gives you an opportunity to work on your 6-on-5 in game action. So, try some different things, get your team comfortable with their 6-on-5 and practice it.
Sure. And it's really going to give you your best chance to win, or at least come back, score a couple late.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, whether you get back in this game, the likelihood is not very good. But at least you get the opportunity to get some real game time looks at your 6-on-5, and you know that can pay dividends down the road.
Absolutely. It looks like Toronto is going to be looking more towards Minnesota now. No real desperation attempt, down by 6.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I think at the very least you want to work your 6-on-5 and get guys comfortable, get some game touches.
No look pass to the point, back to LeBlanc, who snapped that ball back and let her rip, but no traffic at all in front of Angus Goodleaf. On the way number 55 is playing tonight, you're not going to beat him.
He's reading the ball so well. I mean, those are long east-west passes, and he's almost waiting on the ball when he comes across. And Toronto's letting the ball fly. I mean, they're not holding it, they're not hesitating, they're quick sticking it across, and they're hitting him in the belly. He's seeing the ball, he's reading the ball, he's reading the passing lanes. He's done a great job in net.
John Sullivan in the sim bin for his second minor of the game. Now this is where I would think Fryer, who's well out of his crease, should be going. They have a 7-on-5 with 1:47 to go. What do you got to lose?
I agree, and as I mentioned earlier, I think it's an opportunity to practice some things and do it at real game speed.
Brad Self was a goal tonight, just putting it back, and the Rock not pressuring. Game clock and penalty even. 5 seconds on the shot clock, and
too many men, Rochester.
Okay, so you're going to have a 5-on-3. Pull the goalie. Let's have some fun here. Come on. Why not? 1:18 to go in the game. Rochester leading by 6. So too many men penalty. Vitarelli, the in-house tonight for the Knighthawks. That's good news for the Rock because he has 4 goals, including a power play.
Good choice for the in-home. He's all offense, so he's not going to help you on your man down. So
penalty shot. Oh, okay. Stephen LeBlanc versus Angus Goodleaf. LeBlanc picks up the ball, jogs in, moves to the right. LeBlanc waits, head fake, stutter step, and stone dry by Angus Goodleaf. Good attempt by Stephen LeBlanc, who has 1 goal tonight.
Any other goaltending scenario, you'd say it's hard not to start Goodleaf in the next game.
If you didn't have anybody but Matt Vince, I totally agree with you.
How do you not consider it? But,
spectacular.
Oh, just phenomenal. In relief, too. 3 goals.
Yeah. After Matt Vince got off to a shaky start.
And just killed any momentum Toronto could get as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Did his job.
Stephen LeBlanc picked up his 30th goal of the year earlier in this game. And really, the story as we head up to the last minute of play in the game was Cody Jamieson kick-starting that third quarter, 4 straight goals, all from Jamieson as Goodleaf slides from left to right. He sparked everything, and he did his job. Oh, shoving to the face, Kirk getting in on Colin Doyle. Tempers flaring here as the Rochester Knighthawks get ready to sweep the 3-game season series and would own any tiebreakers that may occur. The unlikelihood that would be the scenario, but they would own against Toronto, sweeping that series. Buffalo's ahead late too.
And another loss in the division for Toronto.
Yeah, and that's been a tough go for the Rock. Scott Johnson being held back.
Joel McCready, Scott Johnson exchanging pleasantries.
Yeah, under a minute to go. 52.6 seconds left. And it's just running out the clock here. No sense for either team having to play tomorrow to risk injury, suspension, anything like that. Still a very important weekend, and Toronto can still salvage it.
Well, and arguably tomorrow's the bigger game. I mean, they've got to keep distance between themselves and Minnesota. And
they have not won on the road this season.
Mm-hmm. And you can look at it from that standpoint, from Toronto's standpoint, is tomorrow of the two is the bigger game.
Right.
You want to keep distance between yourself and Minnesota and Philly.
You want to keep that third and final playoff spot in the East Division, because it can get tight in a hurry. Toronto will drop to 4-7. Philadelphia is at 3-8. Minnesota at 2-8. And Rochester improves to 8-3. If Buffalo holds on and wins, they'll go to 8-2 and keep that half-game lead in the East. What a nice turnaround for the Buffalo Bandits this year, with former Rock coach Troy Cordingley winning Coach of the Year, another first-round exit, going to Buffalo and getting that phenomenal program back on track.
Yeah, really turned it around in a hurry. And then you look at the games tomorrow with Rochester and Philly, Toronto and Minnesota. I mean, huge games for Philadelphia and Minnesota.
Yeah, no doubt. This could really shake up if Minnesota and Philly win, then third place is anybody's guess going down the stretch.
Yeah. Well, if Philly and Minnesota win tomorrow, you've got Philly tied with Toronto at 4-8 and Minnesota at 3-8. So you'd have 4-8, 4-8, and 3-8. So
yeah, not bad.
Throw a blanket over that third place spot.
Absolutely. Things being sorted out by the officials. Shots 56 to 44 in favor of the Knighthawks.
Little skirmish down at the Rochester penalty box. Looked like some fans were getting a little excited with the Rochester players.
Getting thrown out. There you go. Tough night for the Rock fans. And when you get the Rochester and Buffalo teams coming into this building, they travel well.
Yes, they do. And that guy looks like he started St. Patrick's Days early.
Yeah, just a little bit. Stumbling down the steps anyway. So we wait to put this one in the books. And the Rochester Knighthawks came in winning 4 of their last 5.
And I think both teams and certainly both coaches want to let this game just run its course and get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
both
playing
on the road.
You're playing tomorrow. You don't need injuries. You don't need suspensions.
No.
And
tempers are hot, but hey, you know what? This one's
over.
For both clubs, and that's just the way it is. So Johnston of Toronto gets 4 minutes. Tax on that double minor. So finally, action gets set to get back underway here. Shot clock at 30, game clock at 52.6. Rochester ball. Keogh with the pink stick head. Dishes it in front of his own bench, receives in the neutral zone.
I'd be surprised if Rochester even tries to go inside the restraining line.
See how much they want to agitate their East Division rivals, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they really go hard to the net.
Here's Keogh. Oh, and Keogh gets his pocket pick. There's Jesse Gamble. Gamble rolling the dice, rumbling in. Waits, gives it, and scores to Rob Hellier. 2 young guns converting a late goal. Doesn't mean anything, but it looked nice. Hat trick for Rob Hellier.
Yeah, and maybe a little too casual by Kehoe doing a little toe drag and getting stripped up at the top. Give the fans something. Cheer about.
And Glenn, the speed of the transition, how young they've gotten with Gamble, with Ethan O'Connor, and then on the forward side of Rob Hellier. That's where a veteran club like Toronto really has to, I guess, focus on and try to exploit. Because they are a veteran, gritty club, use that speed as much as you can.
Yeah, and it's, they do have these young guys that are, they're cutting their teeth and they're finding their way, and they're strong players as they are. But, Rochester just looks so polished from,
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't lose composure. Even when they were down 9-5, they didn't, they sort of kept that gap manageable and then made that run, start the third quarter.
So time runs out. It is over. The Rochester Knighthawks take down the Toronto Rock 17-12, sweep the season series 3-0, and move to 8-3 on the season. The Toronto Rock fall to 4-7. And their hold on third place in the final spot playoff spot in that East Division is in jeopardy as the Philadelphia Wings play these Rochester Knighthawks tomorrow, and Toronto heads into Minnesota against, although the record is 2-8, when looking ahead here for the Rock, it's a 2-8 record. That team is much better than their record shows, and are really, to me, a wild card team. Because of that youth and speed, they could show up and dominate, or they could lay an egg. It's really kind of a give and take from those teams.
Yeah, and as a coach and as the opposition, I mean, they terrify you because they're so athletic. They've got such a high skill set, and for whatever reason this year they haven't been able to put it all together. But
they're really missing Ryan Benesh.
Yeah, and Ryan had that cool composure of helping control that offense and finishing. But they're a dangerous team, and I mean Toronto, you're nervous going, especially into their building to play them.
Absolutely, and having not won on the road, every player and coach is going to say, "Oh, they don't think about it, whatever." That has to weigh on you now, being 0-5 away from the ACC. And now 4-2 at home.
And having to travel and playing a game. I mean, those back-to-backs are killers. This is a hard game on your body. And when you've got to fly and travel and then, go to a building where Minnesota's been waiting for you, that's not an easy thing to do.
That's right. And how will Nick Rose rebound? That's another story with Fryer, who it just seemed by the time he got thrown in there, the wheels were off the wagon. So I don't know if we can accurately judge him too harshly right now, being acquired his first week. But Nick Rose just simply has to play better along with the defense in front of him, because he was hung out to dry several times.
Yeah, and Rochester really looked like champions.
Yeah.
They didn't fall apart, and we talked about keeping that gap manageable when they were losing 9-5. They didn't let it get to 10, 11, 12. They kept it under control. They kept their composure, and we mentioned that in the beginning. Play a solid game, play to their skill sets, and they really did. And there's Angus Goodleaf as the second star, and well deserved.
Well done for him. Dan Dawson, third star. Goodleaf, second. Cody Jamieson, the first star. And if you take out the third quarter, you'd say Cody Jamieson didn't really do a whole lot, but he did 4 straight goals to start that third quarter. And Jamieson's a guy that can disappear for a while and come up and bite you, and he did that in a big way. He catapulted his team. That's what a leader does, and a player of his caliber. He did what he had to do, and the Knighthawks never looked back.
No, and you talk about the it factor, and he has it, and it's an amazing. It's just an amazing thing to see with those caliber of athletes, how he can come out and decide that, I'm going to correct this, and everyone else just sort of goes along for the ride. And it's, the great players have that, and that was quite a performance just to kickstart the game for the Knighthawks.
No doubt. So the Rock give up a first half lead, up 9-5, eventually falls 17-12. Final thoughts, Glenn, before we say goodbye.
Just an amazing display of composure and professionalism from Rochester. I mean, they never looked rattled. They didn't play all that well in the first half. Halftime, they decide, all right, now it's time.
Yeah, let's do it.
And from Toronto's perspective, I mean, their psyche has to be a little bit rattled after. That's 2 games in a row where they've given up significant runs, Calgary and now Rochester, and even the last time they played Rochester was quite a run. So they've had a habit of giving up these long, sustained goal runs, and that's got to wear on you. That's got to play on you. It's got to play on the psyche of the athlete.
Well, that will wrap things up here from the Air Canada Centre. For our IT wizard, Matt Wise. For former Toronto Rock championship player and coach Glenn Clark. Glenn, great having you here.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank
Enjoyed
you very much. I'm Andy McNamara. Final score, 17-12. Knighthawks down the Rock. Thanks for listening on the Lacrosse Network.